So this lesson is over solving multi-step equations. So by the end of this lesson, you should be able to solve equations that involve performing multiple steps. So before we jump into multi-step equations, let's take a second to review single-step or one-step equations. So our first problem here is negative 8x equals negative 104. So I need to remove the negative 8 from the x. Remember, it's all about how the number is attached to the variable. That negative 8 is attached through multiplication. So to remove it, I need to divide by negative 8 on both sides. Negative 8 divided by negative 8 is just a 1, so I'm left with x. Negative 104 divided by negative 8 is 13. Next problem, x minus 17 equals 54. How is this 17 attached to the x? Well, it's being subtracted. So to remove the 17, I need to add it to both sides. I need to do the opposite. Negative 17 plus 17 is 0, so I'm left with x equals 54 plus 17, 71. Next problem, x divided by negative 3 equals 12. How is this negative 3 attached to the x? Well, it's being divided. So to move the negative 3, I need to undo the division by multiplying. I'm going to multiply by negative 3 to both sides. Negative 3 and this negative 3 cross cancel. Negative 3 divided by negative 3 is just 1. So I'm left with an x equals 12 times negative 3, which is negative 36. So these are the basic rules you will have to understand moving forward with today's lesson. So as I said before, multi-step equations are equations that have multiple steps in them. You'll be distributing, you'll have to combine like terms. There's going to be several steps involved. It won't be as simple as add 2 and you're finished. So here's some helpful steps for solving multi-step equations. The first thing you always want to look for is parentheses. If you see parentheses in a problem, you have to eliminate those first by distributing. That's the first thing you always want to draw your eyes to. After you distribute, or maybe you don't need to distribute, if you've addressed step 1, the next thing you want to look for is like terms. Combine any like terms. Sometimes you will be able to do this, sometimes you won't. It's something that it may be necessary, it may not be necessary to do this. And once you've distributed if needed, combined like terms if needed, then you just want to solve for the variable by undoing the order of operations. So always look how the number is related to the variable. Anything being added or subtracted to the variable needs to be moved first. Subtraction, addition. Anything being multiplied or divided to the variable needs to be moved second. Oops, where'd it go? Division, multiplication. If you had exponents or any sort of parentheses after that, you would address it. I don't think that will come up in today's lesson. That's more later on in the semester. And always check your answer. Always plug the value that you come to back into the equation to make sure it makes sense. So let's practice. We want to solve the equation and check our solution. So if you need to refer back to the steps on the previous page, pause the video and do so. But the first step says to address any parentheses. Well, first thing I see that catches my eye is parentheses. So I'm going to go ahead and distribute. 2 times 6 is 12. 2 times a negative m is a negative 2m. Do not drop your minus sign off. Bring down the plus 3, bring down the equals 9. You always want to carry everything down. Anything that you don't touch, bring down. So that's step 1. Step 2 says combine any like terms. Well, I see a 12 and a 3 here that can be combined. When you combine like terms, you're looking at one side of the equal sign. This 9 over here cannot combine with this guy. If you cross the equal sign, you're solving, you're not combining. So this 12, and this 3 can be combined to make 15. 12 plus 3 is 15. Notice I brought down the negative 2m, brought down the equal sign, brought down the 9. So now I just need to start solving for my variable by doing the order of operations in reverse, our SADMEP. So I notice this 15 is connected to the m by addition. So to move the 15, I'm going to subtract it to the other side. This minus sign here goes with the 2. It's a negative 2 times n. So that's why we would not, that negative does not go with the 15. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract this 15 to the other side. 15 minus 15 gives me 0. I'm left with negative 2m equals 9 minus 15 is negative 6. So I still need to solve for my variable. So I'm going to look at SADMEP. Negative 2 times m. So to get the m by itself, I need to remove the multiplication, so I need to divide by negative 2 on both sides. Negative 2 divided by negative 2 is just m. Negative 6 divided by negative 2 is a positive 3. Check your solution to make sure it makes sense. Replace this m with 3. 6 minus 3 is just 3. 2 times 3 is 6, and 6 plus 3 is 9, which is what I needed. Therefore, that is correct. Let's try another. This problem here looks really intimidating at first glance, but it's not bad as long as you remember this rule. This symbol here, this big division bar, acts as a grouping symbol, kind of like parentheses. So anytime you see an expression being divided by a single number, like this, you want to take care of this division bar first. So, to get rid of this negative 3 that we're dividing by, I need to undo the division by multiplying negative 3 to both sides. Negative 3 cross cancel, negative 7 times negative 3 is 21. So now the scary division problem is gone, and it's a linear equation which we can solve. This 22 is being added to the negative x, so I'm going to subtract negative 22 to both sides. 22 minus 22 is a negative x. 21 minus 22 is a negative 1. Don't drop off your negative sign here. I'm not solving for negative x, I'm solving for a positive x, so I need to remove this negative from the x by dividing by negative 1. I am left with x equals 1. Always check your answer. I'm going to replace this x with 1. 22 minus 1 is 21. Carry down the negative 3. 21 divided by negative 3 is negative 7. So that's my answer. Alright, go ahead and pause the video. I want you to stop the video and take a second to do these 4 problems. The answers are displayed. Make sure you get these answers before we move on. Let's try another problem together. This time we're going to have to distribute twice. We have 2 sets of parentheses. So I'm going to start by distributing the negative 3. Negative 3 times m is negative 3m. Negative 3 times negative 4 is a positive 12. Bring down my plus sign. 6 times 2m is 12m. 6 times negative 3 is negative 18 equals 30. Next step is to combine like terms. Negative 3m and 12m are like. 12 and negative 18 are like. When I combine these, I get 9m minus 6 equals 30. So now I just need to solve by using the order of operations in reverse. So this 6 is attached to the variable by subtraction, so I need to move the 6 first. So I'm going to add 6 to both sides. Negative 6 plus 6 is 0, so I'm left with 9m equals 36. 9 times m, need to move the 9 away from the m, so I need to undo multiplication, so I'm going to divide. 9 divided by 9 is just m. 36 divided by 9 is 4. Does it work? Make sure you check your answer. I'm going to replace both m's in the problem with a 4. 4 minus 4 is 0. 2 times 4 is 8. Negative 3 times 0 is 0. 8 minus 3 is 5. 6 times 5 is 30. 0 plus 30 equals 30. Whenever I'm checking my work, all I'm doing is performing the order of operations in the correct order. Since 30 is what we were aiming to get, it does equal 30. M equals 4 is the correct answer. So now I want you to pause the video and take a minute to see if you understand the difference between these two problems. These two problems tend to be problems that a lot of Algebra 1 students get confused. There is a difference. You should not get the same answer. If you need to solve them, take the second to solve them. But there are two different problems that have different processes. So think about what you should do first in each problem. The problem to the left, you need to remove this division bar. Remember that it acts as a grouping symbol. The problem to the right, you just need to start undoing the order of operations by removing this -1 first. So on this problem over here, we're going to multiply by 4 on both sides. Over here, I'm just going to start by adding the 1. Okay? See if you can finish these problems out. I have the answers listed below. But make sure, more importantly, you understand the difference between these two problems. These are problems that a lot of Algebra 1 students get confused. There is a difference between the two. As you can see, you don't get the same answer. So make sure you are able to recognize the difference. Alright, so here's some more for you to try on your own. Take a second to pause the video and try these problems out. The answers I have listed below. Check your answers. If you have any questions, make sure you come and see me. And more importantly, make sure you can recognize the difference between some of these problems. Really take the time to understand what it is you're doing. And last couple of problems. Did you meet the objective? This is your chance to prove it to me. I have two problems listed here below. These are the answers you should get. Take a second to try to work these out until you're able to arrive at these answers. If you are still struggling with this lesson, make sure you come and talk to me before or after school, or rewatch this video. This is a very important concept, and you will need to be proficient at this moving forward in not only Algebra 1, but geometry, Algebra 2, trig, pre-calc, calculus, college level courses. It is imperative that you understand this.